churches on there?
I think it should be. It's one of the more fundamental hymns.
What's the other one?
Hey guys, how you going? Well, happy Coptic New Year. This is the year, does anyone know what year it is? What Coptic New Year is? Huh? Yeah. So this is the year 1740 of the Martyrs. So tonight we've chosen some hymns that are related to the Coptic New Year. So it'd be nice if we can, praise the Lord together.
My Coptic Church, the Church of the Lord, ancient and strong, I wish her long life. In the early years after the birth of Christ, Saint Mark came bearing light of the true faith. He dwelt in the land, proclaiming salvation in the name of our Redeemer, Christ, who removed our sins. The Copts then believed in the Lord Jesus, and joy filled all the cities of Egypt. In a very, very short time, he abolished all idols. The cross was exalted, the sign of the faith. Satan quickly rose toward the Son of God. He stirred the rulers, emperors, and armies. He then declared war on the sons of the faith. Deny your Christ, or be thrown in the fire. Our honored fathers, elders, and youngsters were not moved by pain, distress, nor dishonor, but set courageously forward, no turning back. We don't fear fire, our Lord is Jesus Christ. They were beaten and imprisoned, they lived in oppression. They were burnt and killed and tasted every pain. By the power of their faith, they overcame their pains and remained believing in the King of Peace. With blood and suffering, they bore the faith and preserved it for us in the name of our Savior. Let us arise from our laziness with diligence, seeking the heavenly reward. fathers. You are our pride. To her success, let us all join together. My Coptic Church, her faith is orthodox, forever strong. Egypt is Christ.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll do one more. You might be familiar with this one in Arabic. It's one of the classics. No worry. Someone translated it in English. It's probably not a perfect translation, but we'll go with it anyways. So please, if you can join in. Yeah, you might have heard it, as I said, in Arabic. If not, it's an easy tune, so you'll be able to sing along.
Brighten
up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up. In matters the righteous and saints. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up, brighten up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up. Their blood was shed for their faith in our God and Savior Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Brighten up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up in the Nairobi, commemorating your saintly martyrs. Brighten up, brighten up, bright brighten up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up. Oh God, our Lord, keep us in your faith and in your love forever and ever and ever. Brighten up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up. Oh God, our Lord, protect our Pope ever and ever and ever. One more time. Brighten up, brighten up our Church of Christ. Brighten up, brighten up, brighten up. Thanks, guys. Forgive me for butchering it, but yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate the efforts.
Test. Merry New Year, everybody. Great to see so many smiling faces. Before we dive into the main event that I'm sure everyone's keen for, in the spirit of the season, we have our own Bishoy giving us a short talk from the heart in light of the new year. Bishoy. Make him feel a little welcome.
I'll put a timer for 5 minutes, so it's exactly 5 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, I was asked to give a talk about a small talk about the needles. I'm not going to mention the normal stuff that we all know. But yeah, so I just wanted to I just sort of wanted to relate it to our lives and be like, you know, how we can sort of you know, become martyrs of our ego. So like ego, and I was mainly going towards anger, you know, so trying to martyr like your anger. Sorry. So one of my favorite quotes by Pope Shenouti, it says, "By gentleness you can win even an enemy. By violence you can lose even a beloved." Okay. So by gentleness you can win even an enemy. By violence you can lose even a beloved. Sorry. Yeah. So I really like that quote. Yeah, I personally think, you know, maybe when I feel like, you know, compared to many other sins and passions, you know, I think, you know, I feel like anger and being non-gentle towards others is a really big one. You know, it's very destructive. It's very destructive between relationships, friendships, you know, friendship groups. You know, I'll say even more. Like, this is my opinion. Even more than lust and you know, other passions that we might struggle with. But I think they're sort of they can be related to anger as well. I think when people get angry at others and they you know, you raise your tone, you know, I think it's really detrimental to relationships and you know, just like brother sister relations, not just romantic relationships. Yeah. So yeah, and obviously you know, you'll say the root. I'll say the root of non-gentleness is probably pride. You know, pride and basically our ego. So it's kind of the desire to have everything go your way. You know, it's you're not good with getting with things not being done your way. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, and I wrote here. I think obviously, you know, abiding in a spirit of gentleness is probably very much related to peace. So having the virtue of you know, Christ's peace in your heart. You know, if you have peace in your heart, I'd assume that you would be able to sort of control your emotions and have that sort of emotional regulation, and you wouldn't get angry you wouldn't get angry really easily, you know, towards others. Yeah, and I think also. You know, I'm going through a lot of points. This is very, very disjointed, and I barely prepared, and I had a big opinion of myself that I didn't need to prepare that well. But yeah, I think obviously prayer is really important. In curbing your anger, curbing your passion. If you can, you know, think about it. They say the saints say that prayer is the hardest thing in the world. So if you train yourself to pray every single day, and you have that you know, that 30 minutes of prayer or whatever of a day, you should easily be able to control your anger towards others. You know, you've schooled your body, you've trained, you've gotten that grace from that prayer session, you know, and you'd be able to even in a situation where it's very fast paced and you know, it's you know, you expect yourself to get angry, you don't get angry. So yeah, my throat gets really parched. Anyhow, So yeah, and then I sort of wanted to talk about so like sort of two aspects of like gentleness, so like non-anger, which I think is really important. So like in your smile, so like your facial demeanor, and also your tone of voice. So yeah, I think I think no matter how sweet your words are, like if your tone of voice and your face is wrong, like like if you're not putting in effort to show love in your face and your tone of voice, I think that person won't sense your kindness. They won't be able to sense your spirituality. So yeah, I think it's honestly like someone's facial appearance. I'm not talking about makeup, obviously, but like just like that, having that, you can see love. You can really see like love and gentleness in people's faces. And especially their tone of voice. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote, so like to sort of conclude, I've got 20 seconds left. I'll just give like a few examples where we can be patient. So remaining loving and gentle towards a coworker who always ignores you. So like they ignore you, but you still want to say hello to them. You want to be the better person. Being gentle and loving to people at church who you are indifferent to. So you neither like them nor you hate them. But as Christians, 5 minutes is up. But I'll just say two more examples. But being gentle and loving to people at church who you're indifferent to. So as Christians, we're called to love. You shouldn't be indifferent to anyone. Like you should love everyone. Like love strangers. And then another example, if you're going through physical pain, and you still maintain the ability to speak in a gentle tone, and with a smiling face towards other people. I think that's important too. So yeah. So in summary, just like sort of like learning to martyr our anger and our self-willfulness. And like going deeper into the spirit of gentleness. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That was so nice, Bashoy. That spoke straight to the heart. We even let the extra minute slide. Without further ado, we have Abuna talking to us about marriage. Make him feel welcome too.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. That's why I jumped up quickly, because there's no need for introduction, okay? Everyone is eagerly waiting for the end of this series. And as you know, this is the third part in the series. We started with courtship and engagement, and now the end, marriage, okay? And thank you, Pshoy. That was a very good introduction to my talk, because today I'm talking about martyrdom, also known as marriage. So it's very relevant. That's why we had the introduction. So it's the best time, because we're celebrating now the Nowruz. It's all about martyrdom. So that's the best time to talk about marriage, so we can understand what true marriage is. People think I'm joking when I say martyrdom. Okay, we'll find out. Don't worry, it's coming. So we talked about. Please, I want you to interact with me, so I don't want to just stand here and give a lecture. We talked about courtship and getting to know each other, people getting engaged, preparing themselves to marriage, and then they set the wedding date, and then they're approaching that wedding date. What should be on their minds? The couple, as they've got a wedding date set, and they're approaching that, and they're organizing, last minute things. What do you think should be going on in their minds, other than the stress and panic and, what do you think they should be thinking at that stage? No, I don't like silence. If you're not going to talk, I'm going to go and harass you. I haven't prepared anything. There's nothing in my mind, okay? So please don't think I have to give him the answer today. There's no answers there, okay? Generally, this is a topic that it's very important for us as youth, and we need to do it right, okay? We need to get it right, okay? Because we're talking about something big here, okay? So when we talk about marriage, I want you to sort of try and not forget, but try not to be influenced by all the weddings that you go to and you see what people are doing and that perception about marriage, okay? Because honestly, that's not a true reflection of what's what marriage is about. So, from your perspective, okay, you getting married in a few weeks' time, what should you be thinking about? Okay? Yes, Michael, finally. Thank you. Yes, it's going to be a long night, but we don't have much time because we started late, so we have to be quick. Yes, Michael.
The spiritual aspect of marriage.
Sorry?
The spiritual aspect
What
in
do
the marriage.
you mean by that? Please don't try and give me textbook answers, okay? Just talk about, not you, everyone. Please.
I guess
What do you mean by that?
the significant part about marriage is on the day of the marriage, the wife and husband become united and Christ is between them. So I guess looking forward towards that.
Okay, excellent. So someone's looking forward to the meaning of marriage, the spiritual, the union. Excellent. Where else? If there's no answer, I'm going to ask people at the back to come forward because I feel like it's too far. Okay.
I think like just ensuring that you're 100% sure that this is the person for you.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, hopefully someone is thinking properly. Yeah, so you're about to get married. The first thing should be on is that the right person for me? Am I sure? Okay? Am I sure? Excellent. Okay? Yes.
I'm going to contest that point. I think by the time you've booked all the stuff, you're in too deep and you're just worried about ironing out your own flaws as best you can.
Yes. Yes and no. Depends if you're honest with yourself, then you'll be thinking as Emily said. But if you're not honest with yourself, then you'll be doing that. And 99% of the people are doing what Yusuf is saying. Okay? If there's any issues, no problem. Just, we'll deal with them later. Just make sure the reception is good. And, Yes, Mark. Well, we haven't started yet and we're getting questions. Okay. It's off.
If you're having doubts about the person on the day before marriage, isn't that wrong? If you're about to get married, you should, even if you have doubts, shouldn't you just keep going ahead of it?
Okay. So
if like something really significant happens, or do you just click off?
So what's the definition of doubts and what's the definition of significance?
Because I could just think one day, like a few weeks before the marriage, just think that this person's not the right one for me, and just start randomly having doubts. But I guess.
But how did that come about? Where did that doubt come from?
You could start reading into small things or something like that.
Just a few weeks before the wedding?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what kind of things you're talking about.
No, you raise very good issues. I'm asking back so can people think about it. So I'm not talking to Michael, guys, I'm talking to everyone. Okay? Very good points. And I know people go through this phase. People have doubts before the marriage. Okay? So if someone is not sure and they wake up one day, I'm going to get married, excited. The next day, no, I don't want to get married, I'm not sure. Then the next day, yes, I'm happy. The next day, I'm not happy. Okay. I don't know, but what do you think about that? Is that healthy? Is that a good sign? Okay, there's something wrong there. Okay? I don't know what's wrong because it depends on the case, but there's something that's not right there. Okay? And I shouldn't be approaching marriage with that feeling. Okay? Because if that's the feeling, then that feeling is going to go with me beyond marriage. People think before marriage is here, you come here, you turn on a button, and you get married, and you become a different person. So people change after marriage, and the personality changes, and the doubts go away, and somehow everything is beautiful, and it's like all about, it's all about, emotions and feelings, and I love you, darling, I love you, my beautiful husband, everyone's so nice, and that should happen, but this is not what marriage is about. Okay? So marriage is, let's start from basics, okay? I know you know that stuff, but we have to say it because I feel now it's losing its meaning. Marriage is a sacrament, okay? So courting and engagement is not a sacrament. So you can get to know someone, you can even get engaged to them, okay? And you decide, we're not compatible, I'm not comfortable, I have doubts. Can you end it, okay? It's not a sacrament. God's not upset with you if you end it. We're actually happy because you're going to get married with this problem. So this is an opportunity to get to know each other and leading up to the marriage, okay? But when it comes to the marriage, now we talk about a sacrament, okay? What is a sacrament? It's one of the 7 sacraments in the churches, Okay? Something big. God instituted marriage. And if you look at the Bible, from the first book to the last book, it's about marriage. From Genesis, at the beginning, God married Adam and Eve. At the Revelation, at the end, there's a marriage between the Lamb and the bride, the church and Christ. And in the middle, in between, we hear about all these marriages, you know, all the big names like Abraham and Sarah, all these people. And then obviously the wedding of Cana of Galilee is a big one, our Lord Jesus Christ, you know, blessed. So it's from the beginning to show that marriage is a sacrament that's eternal. It's never broken. It's a big thing. And that's why I'm starting from the end now. And that's why the devil wants to attack marriage. The devil wants to break marriage. The devil doesn't want marriage to succeed according to God's plan, but the devil wants to distort the whole image of marriage and how it's done and what does it mean by all these different things that's happening around us, especially in the Western society. Everything is confusing. Why? To distort the image of marriage. To distort marriage, that means distorting the family unit. That means destroying society. Okay? And that's why there's a lot of attack on that. And that's why there's a lot of attack on the meaning of marriage and people getting married and one married, just live together. You don't need to get married. Why do you need the paper? It's only a paper. All these things not for us, guys. This is for the people who don't understand what marriage is. For them, it's a paper. Go, get a marriage celebrant and do the paperwork for you. It's not that. It's a sacrament. It's to become one. It's God uniting two people. I'll start with some nice quotes. The best person who wrote about this in the saints of the church is St. John Chrysostom. Always in the New Testament, he has a beautiful writings on marriage and the family life. That is a must read for every couple, okay? On marriage and family life. He has beautiful quotes, and he's very nice. You know, throughout the talk, I'm going to be saying a lot of his quotes. So I'll be saying a lot of them to emphasize what marriage means in the sight of God. One of the quotes, he said, when a husband and wife are united in marriage, they no longer seem like something earthly, but rather like the image of God himself. Wow. Look how he elevated that. It's nothing earthly anymore, okay? It's like the image of God himself, because God instituted that. God, and that's why in the church, we put it one of the 7 sacraments, like baptism, like chrismation, like repentance, like Holy Communion. It's a big thing. I'm trying to emphasize how big it is. And that's why St. John Chrysostom kept emphasizing that. And there's the amount of things he wrote about it and the amount of quotes that he say, trying to emphasize that. Like, what is marriage? Marriage is one man and one woman with God for life. One man, one woman with God for life. Okay? So the Christian marriage is not about a man and a woman getting married. Well, nowadays, even man and a woman is not even stabilized, okay? That's even discussions about that, okay? But how God created, he said he created only one Adam and only one Eve and unite them together. Why? Because it's one man, one woman with God. It's not between two people. Man and woman united by God for life, okay? It doesn't end. That's why in the church we don't have divorce. Nothing should end this except in exceptional circumstances. Why? Because this is united by God. And that's why you always hear that verse being repeated all the time. Whatever has God joined together, let not man separate. Okay? It's like you dare separate something that God put together. Okay? That's how serious it is. Okay? Why? Because it's a big thing. It's a big thing. We may not see this happening up here, but this is the work of the Holy Spirit. Like you don't see the body, the urbana and the wine change into body blood of Christ, but it happens. You don't see this normal water at the back making someone a new creation in Christ's baptism, but it happens. You don't see the Holy Spirit coming upon someone, dwelling inside them at the chrismation, but it happens. This is a sacrament, a mystery. Okay, that's how big it is. We need to start with this foundation. So when we talk about marriage, we're not talking about a relationship. Like, yeah, I'm friends with this person. It's not that. It's something much higher. As St. John Chrysostom said it here. And that's why the relationship between a husband and a wife, it's the most strongest and special and honored and privileged and whatever you say in the world, okay? The two become one, which is very strange if you think about it, because the two become one. Even siblings don't become one. Even siblings have the same DNA, and they don't become one. They're separate. But a husband and a wife from two separate families, two different DNAs, they become one person, one flesh. God is trying to tell us this is something big. Understand? So if it's that big, what do we need to do about it? We need to do it properly, according to God's plan. Not according to our plan, not according to what the world tells us. Okay? Very important. Okay? So it's from the beginning, this is what's happening. Okay? And God is highlighting this. Okay? So if I ask you this question, what Christian marriage, what are the goals of Christian marriage? Why you want to get married? I've got three here, so I have some answers here. 3 goals of Christian marriage. Any guesses? If you don't know, that means you don't know why you're going to get married, which is a problem. Yeah? If you don't know why you're going to get married, then think again. So you have to tell me, why do you want to get married? The goals of Christian marriage, what are they? Please, guys, you need to talk.
To help each other to get to heaven.
Typical textbook answer. I'm going to walk down to... It's actually right, of course. My battery's running out. Is another microphone? So the first textbook answer is to help each other get to heaven, which is the right answer, of course. But come on, guys. Is this the first thing that I really, I'm going to get married? Because if that's the case, then well done, excellent. Then I don't need to continue the lecture. Okay? Yes, Daniel? Make a small church, okay? Well, I can make a small church here in the backyard as well. I don't need to get married. I can just have in the shed there outside, make a small church. I know what he means. So obviously every couple, when they get married, we say a new church has formed. So I'm not making fun of it, guys. We're all this. I know we're all this. But I want to get more into more other stuff that everyone's embarrassed to talk about. Okay? Yes, Bishop.
See, I think to procreate,
Thank you. Procreation, okay? Excellent. Okay? We all have desires, and God has allowed a husband and wife to fulfill these desires through marriage, being blessed by God. And St. Paul said marriage is honorable and the bed is undefiled. God is honest and open and say everything. There's nothing embarrassing, okay? Because God created that, okay? He said marriage is honorable and the bed is undefiled if it's blessed by God in marriage, okay? So that's one thing, okay? The other ones are right. What else? So to help each other get to heaven, or in a wider sense, what do we call that? People help each other. Yeah, cooperation between the husband and wife. Okay, so you have cooperation between the husband and wife in whatever they do. Obviously, the main one is to help each other get to heaven. Okay, that's part of it. But cooperation on a bigger scale and everything else in life. That's why God says it's not good for man to be alone, but He created Eve, comparable to him, to be his helper. Yeah? Okay, remember that? Okay, someone to help him so they can help each other. And for procreation, because otherwise human race will be extinct. So for God to help that procreation, the continuation of the human race has to be done somehow. And God said this through marriage. Okay? There's one left. Where is it? Come on, guys. There's a lot of things we want to cover, so you have to be quick. Yes.
Is it a desire to love and be loved by someone?
Excellent. Very good. We all have the desire to be loved and loved by someone, and it's the best form of that is through genuine love in marriage. And also, God knows our weaknesses, and God knows it's related to the procreation, but procreation is merely to bear children. But God knows our desires, and St. Paul said it's better for someone to marry than to burn in lust. Okay, what does it mean? Marriage is a protection for us against lust, against doing wrong things. Okay, and that's why it's better to get married than to live unmarried and be tempted by lust all your life. That's how God thinks about us. Okay, He knows, and that's why He allowed this. He instituted this because He knows our needs. So it's something very important, something very practical. Okay, and we can go on and just talk about these 3 points for an whole hour and give you Bible verses about it. But I'm sure you know the main ones we're talking about. I'm going to just mention quickly when I'm talking to save time. But to show you how big this sacrament is and how much we should be prepared for it spiritually. Because, as I said, when I started, and I told you what you should be thinking about it is whether you're ready or not, whether that's the right person or not. And you need to prepare for it spiritually, as someone said, and to actually prepare for this big sacrament. Like when we're preparing to come to have Holy Communion, we need to prepare. We need to have repentance before, we need to be ready, we need to do certain prayers, we need to come early, not to be, to be reconciled with everyone. Preparation for taking a sacrament. Okay, this is a sacrament. So in the older generations, it was a tradition, and listen to this carefully, because I wish we can do these things. It can happen. In the tradition of the church, the couple, before the night before the wedding date, okay, the couple, their family and their friends, they used to come to the church and have a vigil in prayer and praises to prepare for the wedding the next day. Imagine that. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? And where do we get that from? Where was it tradition from? From Tobit. You know the story of Tobit, the book of Tobit? And I'll read you a very nice quote from the book of Tobit, chapter 8. The righteous man Tobit married Sarah, and he said to her this. He said to his wife Sarah, "Rise up, my sister, let us pray to God today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow." That's after they got married. "As in those 3 days we join God, after that third night we consummate our marriage. So we are children of saints and cannot marry like Gentiles who do not know God." Look at that. So they elevated marriage to something spiritual. Okay? So we have the tradition preparing before and spending the night at vigil. And when did the actual marriage ceremony take place? Does anyone know? When? It wasn't like people choose a time and just come. No, it was actually during the liturgy. Did you know that? During the liturgy. After Matins, specifically after Matins. So they pray Matins, which is rising incense in the morning. Okay? Baker. And then after that, the wedding ceremony happens. And after the wedding ceremony, they start the liturgy so they can have Holy Communion at the end. How beautiful is that? Can we do that today? Good luck to the hair and the makeup. That means they're not going to be sleeping all night. They finish from the vigil, then they go start doing the hair and makeup to be in time for the church. Can you see how we lost many things because of convenience and because our focus is on the wrong thing? Our focus is for the photos and the reception and what things look like. But the substance and the core of the main things, we can let go of. Yeah? Can you see that? And that's why the marriages are not as strong as they used to before, because the spiritual aspect has weakened, because our focus is different. Yes.
I get what you're saying about preparing ourselves, but in terms of like working on our faults, we're never going to be perfect. So at what point do we say, like, it's okay, it's good enough to get married?
Very good. When we talk about marriage, a lot of people have that perception that I have to find the perfect match, okay? There's no such thing. Because if you're going to look for the perfect match, you have to be perfect yourself, yeah? It's unfair that you want someone perfect and you yourself is not perfect. That's not a fair deal, okay? So when you be perfect, get married. It's not going to happen because no one's perfect. But everything is relative. We talk about being compatible. It doesn't mean perfect, okay? And that needs a lot of, look, I'll go a step back. The best way to be prepared for marriage is in your spiritual life. If you are strong in your relationship with God and if you have a strong foundation in your relationship with Him and your partner has the same, this is success to marriage. This is the summary, guys, okay? The success to marriage, stable, strong marriage in the image or in the way that God wanted is that. Because true marriage is rooted upon the love of God, okay? Rooted upon Christ Himself. He's the rock. So if you want marriage to be stable, it has to be built upon Christ. How? That the couple have to be strong in relationship with Christ, and they bring that close together, they form a stronger church. That's how it works. So for me, if my spiritual life is not good, if I'm not close to God, and I try to get married, then where am I going to get my strength from? Because marriage needs a lot of responsibility, needs a lot of things. Where am I going to get that strength from? What is the rock I'm going to be building my house on? It's the rock of Christ, okay? So I was going to address these points. You asked a question early, thanks for that. But this is the best way to prepare for marriage, is to prepare yourself spiritually. And that's what I started with these things, is that's how they used to do it. It's a sacrament, it's a big thing, okay? Now we pass the stage of, okay, getting to know each other and making that decision. Now the decision is made, and now we are in that process. So how do we start on strong foundation, okay? I need to accept the fact that no one's perfect. You know, one of the big discoveries in marriage when people get married is they come to the realization that my partner is not the perfect person I thought he or she were before. And then they get a bit of a shock. During the engagement, they were perfect, but now they're not as perfect as I thought they were. Or even if that person was a bit realistic, and they said, yeah, I knew some flaws about my fiancé, but now there's a lot more becoming apparent after marriage, okay? Why is that? It's because they have a certain perception in their mind that this person has to be perfect, which is very dangerous. And even St. John Chrysostom commented that in different ways, okay? So I'm just trying to use the proper words that they used. Yeah, so he's saying here that we find these discoveries is because our love is not grown properly, because we don't have the love, but we expect things from the other person. So things like pride, being stubborn, being selfish, all this impede or cripple genuine love, okay? And this is very important because when you talk about marriage, people think about marriage as, I want to receive something. Some people want to get married to be happy, okay? But they don't understand the true meaning of marriage, which I started with, is actually this martyrdom. That's part of it, okay? You know, in the wedding ceremony, when we put the crowns on the couple, okay, what do the crowns represent? Okay? There's everything we do in the ceremony has meaning to it, and there's like a whole thing we can go through, okay? Crowns refer to kingship or royalty, someone who's royal. So they become the king and queen of the new kingdom, the house, okay? But also other meanings to it is actually martyr, because the husband and wife become martyr to each other. They martyr themselves for each other. They sacrifice themselves for each other. So they're like queens and kings in the kingdom of God. They're like in that relationship with God is like kings and queens, but with each other they actually martyr. They sacrifice for each other. They're willing to die for each other. Okay, that's the meaning of it. It's a beautiful meaning. So that means there's a lot of sacrifice rather than taking. And that's why a lot of marriages are not strong, because everyone is waiting to receive. There's a lot of expectations. What I'm going to get out of this? What's in it for me? I want to feel this. I want to feel that. I'm not getting that feeling. Some people, they get married, and after some very short period, they say, I don't have feelings anymore. I don't feel that love is not strong anymore. What happens? What do you think happens? How do you reach that when that love is like died? Because there's a lot of misconception that the best time for love, and it's like the maximum is during the engagement period and before marriage. That's a climax of love, and then after you get married, and just what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Do you agree with this or not? Most of you saying no. But how come we're seeing this differently now? You're seeing people happy together during the engagement, and they're so excited up here when they're getting married, and then after a very short period of time, you see all these problems happening. Why is that? Why is this happening? Come on. Let's talk about it. Why? What are some of the reasons this is happening? We need to address these issues so you don't fall for them, guys. Why is this happening? Guess. If you don't know, guess. Okay. Yes, Mina. Sorry? They're not sacrificing? Okay. Okay. More based on emotions. Very good. And again, a beautiful, someone said this, he said that authentic love is an act of the will, not a bubbling over of feelings and hormones. Okay? So genuine love or authentic love is not about, emotions and feelings and all the romantic stuff and all the people fill their minds with from all these romantic series they watch on TV and just that becomes no. It's something of the will that involves sacrifice, that it doesn't involve these emotions. Emotions are nice, but this is not authentic love, because emotions will die. Emotions will go down, okay? You'll have different emotions, but that's not genuine love that will make that marriage strong, okay? What else?
Is it a sense of complacency?
Excellent, very good. In what way?
Like in the sense that, once marriage is, like once you get married, it's like, all right, that's it. Don't need to work on myself anymore. That's it. Nothing.
Excellent. And that's why we titled the talk today, Marriage. Is it the last frontier or is it the beginning? What do you think? Because this is the last of the series, yeah? Courtship, engagement, marriage, end. Now we're married. That's it. We achieved the goal. Is marriage a goal? Some people look at marriage itself as a goal. Okay, so my goal in life is to get married. Okay, have you thought about after? What's going to happen after? Have you actually thought about this? Because if that's a goal, then I can tell you, you're not going to be happy. Okay, because the hard work happens after. Okay, starts after. So if you think you get married and that's it, as you said, some people think that's it, I got married, I don't have to do anything else, then that's when all the problems happen, because there's no sacrifice, there's no hard work, there's no dying for the other, there's always expectations, there's fights about who's going to be the leader, He's, and the big tension about submission, the woman submitting to the husband. They don't like that term, and they want to delete it out of the marriage ceremony and saying it's not fair that the wife submit. We're not slaves, and all these things happen. And we're going to talk about this actually in detail. Okay, all this happens because people are not well prepared for marriage. Okay, I was telling a couple last week. I was asking them, how long did you spend studying to qualify for the job that you're doing now? How many years did you spend studying? Someone said 10 years, someone said 7 years. Okay, so how long have you spent to prepare for marriage? Pre-marriage course, 4 sessions, 5 sessions? Read a book or 2? Listen to a sermon or 2? Really? So something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. How much do you invest in? Now we think it's automatic, We go through the motions. There's going to be courtship, engagement, married, done, happy. Everyone's happy. No, it doesn't work. It needs work. Okay? It needs effort. It needs preparation. It's something that you want to maintain. You need to put something into it, and that's why we need to be prepared properly. It's something beautiful. It's something beautiful, but because it's something beautiful, I need to prepare for it properly. Okay? St. John Chrysostom said this. He said, marriage was ordained by God as a blessing to the human race. That's how beautiful it is, as a blessing to the human race. And one of these, you'll find in the book of Wisdom of Sirach, he talked about important blessings. He made a list of important blessings. One of the important blessings, the Wisdom of Sirach said, he said, a wife and a husband who live in harmony. Wow. A husband and a wife who live in harmony, it's one of the most important blessings, yes. Yes, because that means the family unit are going to be stable. And another quote said, God's purpose in ordering marriage is peace. Peace, okay? Because again, he said that marriage is the thing that welds society together. That's how important marriage is. We nowadays, because people are getting married and it's becoming like a process, okay? You do this, and then you do that, and you do this, and you just go out and look for reception halls, and then you book this, and you book that, and then you come so busy about this stuff. We don't stop and think what we're doing. What are we doing about it? And the importance of it, and what it means. As I said, it's something so beautiful that if I tell you some of the quotes, like, are really amazing in terms of how they define marriage. Look at this. St. John Chrysostom said, the love of husband and wife is the force that welds society together. Men will take up arms and even sacrifice their lives for the sake of this love. Did you hear that, men? Okay? All right? Women can hold this against them. Okay? When harmony prevails, the children are raised well, the household is kept in order, and neighbors, friends, and relatives praise the result. Great benefits both for families and states are produced. Okay? So it's something that affects the whole world, not just these two people. It starts in this relationship between a husband and wife. And another quote said, if a man and woman marry in order to be companions on the journey through earth to heaven, then their union will bring great joy to themselves and to others. But what if we say that their goal is to satisfy their desires, for example, whether it's sexual desires or whether it's material desires? Some people take marriage as a deal. Okay, I'm going to marry someone rich so I can live a nice life. I'm going to find a rich husband so I can get whatever I want. Okay? Or I have to look for the most handsome guy so I can satisfy my sexual desires. If this is the goal, what do you think the end result would be after marriage? What do you think? None of the stuff that we're talking about here, okay? Because all the things are fleeing. All the things are temporary. You know, the most beautiful guy that you see today and the woman just, oh, so attracted to him, that beauty is going to die. Yeah? That beauty is going to die. Same thing, obviously, for the woman. So the focus shouldn't be on these things. Focus should be on the beauty of the soul. And the Bible talks about this, the beauty of the soul, the beauty of the heart, the character, the personality of the person. And that's why when we're choosing, we give focus or we give priority to these things. Okay? Any questions so far? Because we're not going to have time for questions at the end. Yes, Michael.
I just don't understand. I don't understand the what's it called?
I can't help you.
I
What's
don't-
called.
okay.
I need to know what
I
you're
don't
talking
understand the Christian's perspective towards marriage in terms of how it originated, because marriage was there before Christianity. It was there from a very long time ago. I just wonder, is it just that Christianity has given a new meaning towards marriage? Because before marriage was, I guess, by the aristocracy, they married to keep the purity of the bloodline, and kings and married several women to create new offspring and stuff like that. I just want to know, what does marriage mean? Do we think that we invented it, or what do we think of it? Because it's really something that man created for themselves, and so it's really a man-made thing, and we call it our sacrament. So I'm not sure, is it divine? But we would call it divine, but it originally wasn't. So I'm not sure how Christianity explains this.
No, I already addressed that from the beginning. I said from the very beginning, you find the book of Genesis, from the very beginning of the Bible to the very end Revelation, and in between, it's all marriages, and God blessing marriages, and He blessed the wedding of Cana of Galilee. And from the beginning, He's the one that brought Eve to Adam and said, she's your wife. And Adam said, she is a bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Therefore, a man shall leave his mother and father and cling to his wife, and the two shall become one. And whatever God joined together, let no man separate. What more stronger can you want to get more than that? So the institution of marriage is a godly institution from the beginning. It's not about Christianity. God at the beginning. But then when Christianity came, our Lord Jesus Christ Himself performed His first miracle at the wedding of Cana of Galilee. And He blessed it. Him and St. Mary attended it. And that's why during the marriage ceremony, you'll find a lot of prayers referring to, as He blessed the couple in the wedding of Cana of Galilee, blessed His couple. As He did this in the wedding of Cana of Galilee, do the same to them. So we're using what our Lord Jesus Christ did to apply to this couple here. And that's why the church said this becomes a sacrament. It's a godly union, a spiritual union. Before the physical union, a spiritual union. That's more important. The union on all aspects. And that's why when we come, for example, say, for example, two people got married and one of them has any problem in terms of can't have kids, for example, that does not make the marriage void. Because this is not really the most important. It's one of the goals we said, but it's not the most important goal. Okay? Can you see that? So the union is higher than physical, but more important, a spiritual union that God designed. And that's why I said, I quoted St. John Chrysostom, he said, this is something heavenly. It becomes like in the image of God, something higher. And that's why I spent a lot of time at the beginning putting how we should look at marriage, so we can understand how big it is, so we take it seriously and plan properly for it. Okay? Okay? So of course, it's something from the very beginning, and from the very beginning, God had actually planned this union of man and woman. And I'm reading this. God has put into a man's heart the capacity to love his wife, and the opposite thing. If they are united, there is no relationship between human beings as close as that of husband and wife if they are united as they ought to be according to God's institution. Okay? So if marriage is done properly according to God's plan, then it's the best thing in the world. And that's why marriage is beautiful, guys, okay? Marriage is something beautiful, enjoyable, blessed. Like it's the best thing in the world if, and that's a big if it's done in accordance to how God planned it. If we deviate from that plan, it collapses. And that's why many marriages are broken, even though there are Christian marriages, is because it's just Christian by name. People are not looking at marriage from that perspective. People are looking at marriage so they can have a reception and a wedding and a honeymoon. Some people looking for that. Some people getting married because all their friends are getting married. Some people are getting married because they're having fear, they're living in fear. What if I don't get married? So I better get married to avoid that fear. This is all wrong reasons for marriage, okay? And when all this is over, I want you to think about when the dust settles, a month, 2 months after marriage, normal life, normal day, both of you go to work, what would life look like? You need to think about that and imagine what life would look like on a normal day, okay? Okay? It's not all about, darling and honey and love you. That's nice. But in practical life, how's it going to look like? You want to spend the rest of your life with that person? With all the responsibilities and everything that comes with it? Yes, because you love that person. And what happens? Not like what the world believes is the best time for love increases during engagement, then dies after marriage. No. In the Christian marriage, love increases every day. You grow in your love for each other. To the extent that I know personally, I know very old couples, they actually become so close to each other. The physical features are the same. They look alike. They look like brother and sister. I know many couples like that. They look like brother and sister. Actually, the physical features become, I don't know how, and there's no scientific explanation for that, but the more closer they are to each other, the more they love each other, they start talking like each other. They start, become very close. And that's why people look at old couples, they're like old couples. No, these are the best couples because they spent 50 or so years with each other. Their love is up there. That marriage will not going to be broken easily because it's rooted on Christ. Okay? And they're growing in the love for each other because they understand what marriage is. And that's what we need to keep in mind. And that's why, in terms of expectations about marriage, in terms of, okay, what I want to get out of marriage, all these things, it's very important to be addressed before marriage. Okay, you have a pre-marriage course, you have your confession fathers, you have a spiritual guidance, and that was very important for us to listen and take advice from people who know what they're talking about, people who care about us, people who are spiritual, people who are close to us, like your parents, like your confession father, like a spiritual guide. You need to listen to them. Don't ignore and sweep under the carpet issues that the people raise. Don't say, no, we're going to get married. I don't want to listen to this. It's going to be fun. It's going to be okay. Listen to what people say and weigh them and assess them and say, okay, what can we do? And have a discussion about it. It's very important because if it doesn't happen now, you're going to do it after marriage, and guess what's happened? It's going to be so hard, okay? And things will get much harder. In terms of, you need to understand the role of the woman and the role of the husband in marriage. Are they equal or they're not equal? What is the roles? Okay, we need to understand because people, again, we talk about submission. The common thing is Ephesians chapter 5. Can you get it on the screen? Ephesians chapter 5 from verse 22. Ephesians 5:22. We read this in the marriage ceremony, and very common about marriage. Okay, so we need to understand that the church teaches us something. There's something called a dual theme about equality and about the roles of each husband and wife, okay? The world now, especially in the Western world, more about the freedom of women. Then what's happening now, there's a lot of tension about this, about the role of the husband, role of the wife, and the woman become like a woman versus men thing. Well, we equal, they can be higher than us, then why do we need to submit? And all these issues. And people look at each other during the wedding ceremony, wife, submit to your husband, I don't know about that. Okay, and they start, really can feel the tension even during the wedding itself, okay? Why? It's because that meaning is actually, the understanding of the word submission is even wrong. When we hear the word submit, what do we think of? We think of submission or obedience in terms of like political or military style, military obedience. The husband gives an order and the wife says, yes, obey the order. That's fine in military style. There has to be orders and there has to be obedience, but how can we think of it like that in an intimate relationship such as marriage? That's not going to work. And people get really bogged down about wives submit to your husbands, okay? You know why? Because we make a mistake of starting reading from verse 22. If you go one verse up, then it will become easier for women a bit, okay? Which it says, submitting to one another in the fear of God. And then start talking about the rules for each one, okay? So the key word here is in the fear of God. So when here God is asking the wife to submit to your own husband, in what way? In what way? People don't continue the verse. People don't understand the verse. In what way? As to the Lord. So in submitting to her husband, the wife, that's part of her service to the Lord. Because God told her, you know what? I was the head of the church. I'm the head of the church. And I'll make the husband the head of the house. That's why you need to submit as to the Lord. So by submitting to husband, the wife is actually submitting to the Lord. Okay? She's doing that to the Lord. This is a very important concept. It's not slavery. Okay? Because they need to do it to each other. And that's why it said submit to one another in the fear of God. Okay? This is something mutual, something for them to happen together. It's not someone who's higher than the other. So in terms of equality, they're very equal. And throughout the Bible, it's very clear, okay? And in Christianity, there's no man, there's no woman, there's no Greek, there's no Jew, there's no different races. They're all equal before God. And even God knew this was going to happen. So when he decided to create Eve, he was very careful where he's going to get Eve from. Yeah? He could have got Eve from the head of Adam. Then Eve will keep telling Adam, I'm higher than you. I came from your head. I'm ruling over you. Or he could have decided, I'm going to create Eve from the foot of Adam. Then Adam would tell Eve, I'm stepping all over you. You're the bottom, I'm the top. But when God created Eve, he created her from side. Okay? From his rib, the side. Okay? Beside him. So the woman is a help comparable to him, beside him. Not on top of him, not below him. Equal to him, side by side. Understand? This is the Christian marriage. So I don't want you to fall for the trap when people get really bogged down into things like that and they completely go off track. No, it's not. Okay? Because in genuine, in Christian marriage, there has to be a discussion, there has to be opinion. You know, they have to talk to each other, there has to be communication, and this is very important. Okay? And people, there has to be a constant dialogue between the husband and wife. And they need to come to an agreement, they need to come to decisions, they need to do this stuff together in one spirit, in one love. Why? Because it comes down to this. When the woman gets really bogged down on submission, then they need to keep breathing. Because God asked the woman to submit or obey, but he didn't stop at that. Technically, it's actually 3 verses to the woman. Look at the next screen. Talking to the husbands. What are the husbands required to do? Love your wives. Full stop. He said, love your wives. Okay, so everyone's love is standard is different. I love my wife. I bring her flowers. That's my love. Someone else, takes their wife for lunch. That's a sign of love. God says, no. Love your wives. What standard? As Christ also loved the church. Okay, so what does it mean? What did he do? He just died for her. That's all. So how husbands ought to love their wife? Die for her. Die for her. Husbands should be prepared to die for their wife. That's sacrifice, okay? So tell me, which one is harder? To obey someone or to die for someone? Let's be fair, okay? Obey your husband, die for your wife. That's what it means. So you see, when you put them together like that, you see that it's not what people put it to be, and it's not a degrading form of anything. It's nothing like that at all. That's not the intention at all. Okay? But it comes down to love and respect. Towards the end, go to the very end of the chapter. Okay? At the very end, this is a summary because of time. He says, nevertheless, let each one of you in particular so love his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. So it comes down to the husband to love his wife, and the wife respect her husband. This is the summary of how this relationship should go. Okay? And if you think about it, and why this love and respect? Because God knows our psychology. God knows that the man will do anything to be respected. And we hear that in marital problems. You go and you sit down for hours and hours, and the man will go, but she does this, but he should does, when complaining about the wife for hours, but he should this. Okay. And then you try to read between the lines. So what does it come down to? She doesn't respect me. That's a problem. And he doesn't even say that word. But she does this and she doesn't listen to me, and I said this and do this and do it, but she doesn't do this. Okay, what is the summary? She doesn't respect you. Yeah, that's it. Doesn't respect me. And the woman, he does this and he does that. He doesn't do this and doesn't. Okay, at the end of the day, what is the summary? He doesn't love me. That's what it comes down to. And that's why, if there's love and respect, everything will be beautiful. Everything will be beautiful. Okay, and that's why it's important that they know each other's rights. And that's why it's important, in the commandment during the wedding ceremony, we say these commandments to them, You need to know each other's rights. So there's harmony, there's no problems, there's no issues. People know what their roles are, what they need to do. Okay? If a husband comes and say, but my wife doesn't respect me, what do I do? My wife doesn't respect me, what do I do? Don't worry, love her. Because it's not a recommendation, it's an obligation. So I said, it's not, please, if you try and love you, if you can, die for her. No, it's an order, it's an obligation, okay? It's like, that's what Christ did. You want to be a husband? You do that. Okay? If you're not willing to do that, then you're not ready to be a husband. And if you're not ready to respect your husband, then you're not ready to be a wife. You want to exercise your own authority, you want to exercise everything, that's different. You can do the other relationships, at work, with your friends, but when it comes to marriage, it's a special thing, okay? And that's why it's a beautiful thing if it's done according to God. That's why we have to go back to the model that God did for us and not deviate from it and not try to try something new or be philosophical and say all this, but this, that. No, it's not about that. It's about humility, humbling myself, okay? The couple, when they humble themselves before God and before each other, when they're thinking about sacrificing their life for each other, when they just deny themselves and not become selfish, when they humble themselves, when they're not stubborn, it's not like my way or the highway. There's always that compromise. That's how we put their heads together to unite them in mind and spirit. Their mind together, okay? Compromise. That's what it's about. Then you will see wonders happening in this relationship. I'll read you, I'll finish, because I just realized the time is very late now. I'll end with something beautiful that St. John Chrysostom said. So I'm trying to choose, because there's so many quotes, I'm trying to choose for time's sake. He specifically has some advice for husbands. So men, listen carefully. And obviously women, not to hold against men, but to reciprocate that through their duties, what God wants them to do. He said that husbands never call, like he's talking to husband never call her, your wife, husband never call her simply by her name. Bawdudu the lahain, like that common. But with the terms of endearment, with honor, with much love. Honor her, and she will not need honor from others. She will not want the glory that comes from others if she enjoys that which comes from you. Prefer her before all, on every account, both for her beauty and her discernment, and praise her. And on other grounds, St. John Chrysostom says very nice advice to men. I can't say it here, but he said, always praise your wife. Always find something and praise her about this. Encourage her. Make her feel that she is very important above everyone else. And if you find a flaw in her, if she does something wrong and wise, you can talk to her in a nice way, advise her in a nice way, okay? So acknowledge it. Of course there's going to be issues, there's going to be things, but the way to handle it makes a huge difference, makes a huge difference. I want to read you this advice again to husbands. He says, love your wife more than you love your own life. Never be at odds, but be true. Prefer her company at home above being out. Many men after marriage, they want to get out with their friends and enjoy their life, and they leave their wife, or the opposite. Okay? He said, you need to make her feel, and you need to make him feel, everything on the other side, that you prefer their company at home above going out with others. Esteem and admire her publicly and advise her patiently. Pray together, go to church and discuss their readings and prayers. If your marriage is like this, listen to this, your perfection will rival the holiest of monks. Look at the level now. If your marriage looks like this, you're actually rivaling the holiest of monks. Because people think, oh, well, being a monk or a nun is better than married. No. If you have proper marriage, if you have the marriage according to God's plan, you can rival the holiest of monks. Because God sanctified it. It's a sacrament. Okay? So this is very, very important. And finally, this is seriously the last one. Some beautiful quotes. Again, husbands, say that to your wives. I have taken you in my, this is quotes, a husband talking to his wife. I have taken you in my arms, and I love you, and I prefer you to my life itself. For the present life is nothing, and my most dream is to spend it with you in such a way that we may be assured of not being separated in the life reserved for us. I place your love above all things, and nothing would be more bitter or painful to me than to be of a different mind than you. How beautiful is that? Okay, can you see? This is the Christian marriage, guys. okay? And I pray that we understand this truly, so we do it in the proper way, because this is the starting point for the church in our homes, for a stable family, for a stable society. This is it. It starts with you. It starts with you. Glory be to God forever. Amen. It's too late for questions now, so maybe you can leave them to the Q&A session next week. Yeah, it's 10 to 10, so there's next week will be a whole just Q&A session with a panel of the fathers, answering questions about all the 3 weeks that we said on this series, courtship, engagement, and marriage. So I saw some questions came through. Do you want me to answer them? I think I answered some of them in the process, but I'm not sure. I need the servants to guide me. What do you need to do? Okay, excellent. So done. We save them for next week. So next week will be a very everything. Imagine all the questions from those 3 weeks. It's going to be a really, really beautiful session, very informative, and we all can benefit from it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Abuna. Guys, as soon as we wrap up, the food and fun continues in the hall, so we're going to turn off the lights. There's no loitering in the church. We're going to continue the disco elsewhere. Can we please stand up for prayer?
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. We thank you, dear Lord, for instituting this beautiful institution of marriage, Lord. According to your will, we ask you, Lord, we know it's a difficult phase in our life, and the choice is not always easy for us. That's why we need your guidance. We need your wisdom. We need your discernment to help us, Lord, choose the right person for us. But that will only come if we have a proper relationship with you. So help us, Lord, to strengthen our relationship with you. Then we'll be able to find the one that you choose for us, Lord, and that person will come from your hand, will be blessed by you, will be chosen by you. As you brought Eve to Adam, we ask you, Lord, to help us, Lord, in that process, and guide us, Lord, through your wisdom. We say this, Lord, with the praise and intercessions of St. Mary and St. Mina and the saints of today. Hear us pray thankfully, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and give us our trespasses, as we yield us trespassing against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, for thou art kingdom, power, glory forever. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. And I love God the Father, grace to his only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, the gift, giving the Holy Spirit with you, go in peace. May the peace of the Lord be with you.